I still think you're going to several $100s on silver. It
Right.
wouldn't even shock me if you went to 500. Now that sounds ludicrous. Here's the logic behind that.
Could you see silver dropping or testing 50?
Where would you have bought it? Did you buy, if you bought silver in the 30s and 40s, okay, are you doing bad? Okay, well, yeah, if you bought it at 110, maybe you're hurting. You got to regard this pullback as an opportunity because I see nothing that argues that we're at the top. And I think it is a mistake to regard silver as just industrial. I think
Yeah.
silver is a surfer and he's surfing on two waves. The one everybody knows, that's the supply-demand deficit. The world needs solar panels, especially the undeveloped world. They want to have power plants in every city. And China is satisfying that demand by producing like 80% of the world's solar panels. Voltaic cells have silver in them. And then the AI expansion we're all hearing about.
Yeah.
Don't be shocked about what comes in the next, let's say by summer. Even gold at 8,500, do a 3% of that. You're talking, two to 300 silver. If it went to 6%, like 1980, when it was 6.5% the price of gold. I don't think we've got a top, and I think this is just the jiggle in the middle. And
You've talked about prices for silver in the 300 to 500 range, which most people think is ridiculous. But as Alistair says, most analysts think that this is it. They see this sort of
that's
a
fine. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's all over.
Hmm.
So it matters why. Why did it go up in the first place? And of course, there's no understanding of gold and silver as money to start with. So if you look at it in terms of that, if you really measure everything in terms of ounces of gold rather than in dollars,
Hmm.
I think you'd
Hmm.
have a better picture of what the world is really like. And of course, most people we're not trained to think that way, and people aren't thinking that way. So yeah, I mean, if you think the dollar is the holy grail and that's the currency you got to live by, then and it's if you really buy the idea that it's solid, I don't know how you could do that, but some do, I guess, and that's all you have to go by. So yeah, it's understandable why people can't see what you and I see, what Alistair sees, and other
Yeah.
people understand what money really is. Um, could you see silver dropping or testing 50?
No, I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. No.
Yeah,
Uh, the I'd be looking right now. Our daily stuff is overdone. Okay, we know that daily movement, short term,
yeah,
and even the weekly says, "Hey, look for a low real soon." So if somebody had not invested in silver or gold up to this point,
yeah,
for whatever reason, uh, and is thinking about it. Of course, now they think, well, see, I'm glad I didn't. Well, of course, where would you have bought it? If you bought silver in the 30s and 40s, okay, are you doing bad? Okay, well, yeah, if you bought it at 110, maybe you're hurting. Uh, but you got to regard this pullback as an opportunity because I see nothing that argues that we're at the top. Now, let me give you an example. The MSA is very flexible on long-term assessment. Yes, I understand the fundamentals of gold and silver.
yeah,
Philosophically, I've long understood that.
yeah.
And ultimately, they win. They
Hmm.
always hold value, especially gold, versus the decay in the money unit.
Sure.
In other words, you look at an M2 chart and it's parabolic. That reflects the decay in the money unit because of the quantities exploding. And gold reflects that by continuing to hold value versus that thing. Whereas even the stock market doesn't hold its value versus the decay in the dollar. In fact,
Hmm.
if you go back to 2000 and 2000, the
Yeah,
dot-com pop, 1500 S&P, and measure where it is now, factor in the decay in the money, it has not kept up with it.
exactly. I believe gold
Yeah,
has outperformed the S&P since.
gold has vastly outperformed during that
Yeah.
25 years. So,
You-
yeah, there's ups and downs, but it continues to hold. Okay, people forget that. They don't notice that.
Yeah.
Silver has vastly been capped off, something we pointed out, in a
Yeah.
50-year range. And you say, well, okay. Well, copper, we did studies of this, copper and lead, two base metals.
Yep.
You go back to this 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000 till 2005, copper was in a rectangular range, just like silver.
Mm-hmm.
$50 range to $4. It was 50 cents to a buck 50 a pound. Finally, in late 2005, copper punched up above the top of that range,
Mm-hmm.
incredibly, and began an explosion. It quadrupled in price on its own.
Yeah.
Wasn't with gold and silver, wasn't with other base metals. Quadrupled in price in a matter of several quarters,
Mm-hmm.
and then lived in a new reality between $2.50 to $4.50 as opposed to 50 cents to a buck 50. But it did it so suddenly. Then you look at lead. It lived in a range similar to copper's, but it didn't break out till 2007 and it quadrupled in a matter of several quarters
Oh,
and lived in a new. How come silver hasn't done that?
yeah.
If silver were to match that, you'd be $300 or $400. And if silver were to go up to price levels that reflect the decay in the money unit versus where it was in 1980 or even 2011, it'd be several hundred to $500.
Yeah. That's where you
And
come up with
yeah,
that
in
number.
terms of compensating for this underprice in relation to
Right.
the money unit, okay,
Right.
and catch up to gold in value. So no, I don't think this is a top. This is a buying opportunity, especially if you've not been in. And
Mm-hmm.
look for the turn.
Yeah, but as you
That's what
say,
we'll be focused on.
most people won't recognize that buying opportunity because they've been trained to think of, in terms of dollars.
Yeah.
Um, I talked to Frank Holmes yesterday, and his view on silver's strength was that it's coming primarily because of this massive industrial use and military use application, high-tech applications, and so forth.
Hmm. Hmm.
And Frank doesn't see it so much as a monetary thing, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
I do. It's
You're
still
a
money.
you're a technical
Yeah.
analyst, and so
Yeah.
you let the numbers talk to you, and then on that basis maybe try to figure out why. But it's not important. Primarily, you just want
Yeah.
numbers to tell you what it is, not philosophically why it is where it is. But
Yeah, but it's numbers when you compare it to its metal that it's been in linked with for centuries, for thousands of years, is gold. I'm
yeah,
sorry, silver is money. In
yeah,
fact, it's been legal money, and I think India's even thinking about it. Okay,
yeah.
so you
And
get into
China used silver as their monetary
yeah, and
way in
gold
the
as
past.
well. Yeah. We get into a crisis in the West. Now we're in one in Japan.
Yeah.
They've got a situation where a government bond market of a major U.S. linked power, call it a Western power, even though it's in the East, it's part of the West, uh, is in collapse mode. You can't have that. You
Yeah.
can have mortgages collapse like 7 to 9. Okay, they'll print money to cover that. But when their own government debt instrument is in jeopardy, as ours is,
Yeah.
ours is already collapsed from 2020 to 2022 from a price of 190 on T-bonds to
Hmm.
117. Where is it now, 3 years later? 115. It can't get off the floor.
Yeah.
It can't, it's tried multiple three waves of rally, not been able to get off. If you slip about 3 points below where you are now, you're going to have another plunge. You can't have that because when government debt is suddenly highly questionable. And I think it is a mistake to regard silver as just industrial. I think
Yeah.
silver is a surfer, and he's surfing on two waves. The one everybody knows, that's the supply-demand deficit. That's
Right.
now a well-known fact.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
persistent and it's not getting better. Okay. And it's
Yeah.
not going away. The world needs solar panels, especially the undeveloped world, lesser developed world, because they don't have power plants in every city. And China is satisfying that demand by producing like 80% of the world's solar panels.
Solar panels. Yeah.
And they need the voltaic cells have silver in them. And then the AI expansion we're all hearing about and the
Yeah.
computer, that silver is essential in that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's both an
Pervasive.
industrial and a monetary metal,
Yeah.
and that's
And yeah, nobody's
and
talking
yet,
about the monetary
well,
aspect.
it's been kept at bay. I mean, we haven't had. Andy Scheckman argues that we haven't had price discovery in gold or silver, especially silver, from as you pointed out. Essentially, what doesn't
Well,
make any
copper
sense.
did. Copper did in 2006,
Hmm.
fourfold. Lead did in 2007. Gold, look at it. 1980 high, 2011 high, vastly above it. And by the way, the two surges there, I've said this probably before on your show, 76 to 80, that bull market, eightfold move.
Hmm.
2001 to 2011, eightfold move from bear low to bull high. Where was our bear low? 1,050. What's eightfold? 8,500.
Yeah.
Did we get there? No. We haven't even matched the multiple gains that gold has seen twice before in routine bull markets.
Yeah.
And
And
yet it's overdone? Oh, I think not. Okay.
and I know you don't think this is anything like routine, but I have to ask you, Michael, what's your hunch on silver? Silver has been such an anomaly, as you point out. These other metals have had runs, but silver has been
Yeah, it
kept at
it
bay.
got it achieved nice enough levels for me to smile to say, oh, that was a midpoint high in time clock, not on
Uh-huh.
price. Well, you went from, we got bullish at 35, it broke out at 50, and next thing you know, you're 120. Okay, so there's a high. Okay, let's assume that's your midpoint high,
Yeah,
not in price, but in the on the clock or so.
yeah,
So maybe you got 3 or 4 months on the other side once you break out above it. Uh, in both the 79 and the 2011 surges, what came on the other side was vastly more than what was on the first side of the
yeah.
swing. Uh, I still think you're going to several $100s on silver. It
Right,
wouldn't even shock me if you went to 500. Now that sounds ludicrous. Here's the logic behind that.
right.
Silver range in arithmetic price was $4 to 50 for the last 50 years.
Uh-huh.
That's a tenfold move. Okay.
Right.
But if you do an arithmetic chart and you're an orthodox price guy, you
Mm-hmm.
draw a rectangle and you take the rectangle distance and you add it to 50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you take $4 to 50, you end up with something like mid 90s would be the swing objective,
Uh-huh.
$45 swing. Well, look what happened several weeks ago. We stalled for a couple weeks in that 93 to 95 zone, where those guys were no doubt taking profits,
Uh-huh.
thinking, oh, we reached the swing objective. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You exploded through that and proved no, wasn't the swing objective. Okay, you went to 121, nothing to do. If you take the logarithmic scale, ratio price scale of silver, and you go from $4 to 50, let's call it 5 to 50.
Yeah,
That's a tenfold dimension move from bear low to bull high.
right.
Tenfold above 50 is what? When you take a logarithmic scale and take the
Yeah.
thickness of the range, and it says 500.
500, yeah.
If you go back to 1980 high in silver and factor in the dollar's decay, you'll come up with something like that too.
Mm-hmm. No,
So it
it's
wouldn't shock me. And also, when markets get overly done one way or the other, silver overdone on the downside,
overdoes, yeah. Either
it
way.
overshoots. Maybe it goes to a new reality, but it goes in excess and
Right.
then pulls back to
Yeah.
the new reality. So
Yeah, it
don't be
could,
shocked about what comes on the next, let's say by summer.
and a similar logic, I think, has gotten you to 800, 850 or so. I mean, 8,000 or so in gold, right?
Well, that's not even a target for us. That's simply saying
That's
that's
just
what it
getting
did
back to where
twice
we were
before.
before.
Yeah. I mean, we've done it twice before under conditions that were hardly as fundamentally earthquake
Yeah,
as
as
what
it is now.
is driving gold now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't even expect it to stop there, but we haven't even gotten to the ratio moves of those bull markets.
No. And then if you get to 3% or higher in silver, you can see silver going to
Oh, well,
extremely high numbers. So,
yeah, even gold at 8,500, do a 3% of that, you're talking, 2 to 300 silver,
yeah, right.
And if it went to 6% like it was in 2000, back in 1980 when it was 6.5% the price of gold,
Yeah.
wow. So
Yeah,
no, I don't think we've got a top, and I think this is just the jiggle in the middle. And
jiggle in the middle. Okay,
mhm,
jiggle in the middle. That's a good
mhm.
title for the.
Okay.
But yeah, you're very fond of looking at spreads, and I know you like to look at the spreads, like the shares of gold to the bullion,
Mhm,
silver shares to the silver
mhm.
bullion. What's that looking like now? I mean, they're still very
Yeah,
suppressed. Shares are, right? So
yeah.
see an awful lot of upside, even if we don't get the kind of breakout you're talking about. If silver and gold stays where it is now, I don't think the market is recognizing, hasn't
No,
priced in
no,
yet.
no, no,
No.
no. They haven't. The miners are vastly undervalued. We measure XAU index because it goes back to the 1980s, and we can go back far in measuring its relationship to gold. It's gold and silver miners
Hmm.
versus gold. And we're now back below 8%, meaning divide XAU into gold. We were up around above about 8.6% earlier this month.
Hmm.
There is a range on the spread relationship between XAU and gold
Hmm.
each month, plotted what percent is XAU to gold between 5 and 8 plus percent for 11 years. We
Yeah.
probed up over the 8% a couple times, did this month as well.
Uh-huh.
If you get a month that closes over the top of that range, like above 8.6%, okay, we're
Uh-huh.
not there right now. We've tried. I think we'll get there. There is nothing on that chart. You go back to the 1980s and you'll see that XAU on average for decades was 25% the price of
Wow.
gold on
Wow.
average, so it above and below there,
Yeah.
with lows on that spread relationship over decades at 17 to 18%.
Yeah.
You collapsed to 4% by 2015 in that bear market. The spread collapsed, meaning the
Yeah.
miners devalued the gold. And they've lived with highs about 8%. If you broke out of that spread relationship and shot up even just to the bottom
Hmm.
of that prior multi-decade relationship,
Range. Yeah.
you'd more than double the value of gold miners and silver miners
Right.
to gold, just
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
expect it to happen.
Yeah, there's so much, and I think in part because there's a lot of people got rich really fast in the high tech sector, and it's just, I mean, there's this little company called Hydrograph Clean Power that I follow, and
Hmm. Hmm.
Michael, I made more money in 3 or 4 months than I did in 30 years in the mining sector.
Yeah.
In that thing. That's
Yeah.
because I took a very aggressive
Yeah.
position in all of that. But not what I'm
You've been
saying
on
is,
top of that one. You called that and we're on top of it.
well,
Congratulations. Yeah.